You settle in, the lights are low, and this old man begins to speak. I was 17 years old the Halloween night this happened, not a boy anymore, but not yet a man, that strange in-between age where you think you know everything, and the darkness doesn't scare you the way it used to when you were small. I remember it was 1973, October 31st, the kind of cold that doesn't just chill your skin, it gets into your bones and stays there. The kind of cold that makes the dead leaves on the sidewalk sound like whispers when the wind moves through them. We lived in a small town in Ohio then, the kind of place where everybody knew everybody, where the same families had been on the same streets for 3 generations. The kind of town where Halloween was still something the whole community did together, not just the children, but the adults too. People strung orange lights along their porch railings. Somebody always set a record player in their window and let the scratchy sound of organ music drift out into the street. The smell of burning candles inside carved pumpkins, that sweet, warm, slightly rotting smell of scorched pumpkin flesh. I can still smell it now, 60 years later, if I close my eyes and think hard enough. But that particular Halloween, something was different. I couldn't tell you what it was at first, just a feeling, the way you sometimes feel like someone is standing behind you, even when you know the room is empty. My 2 best friends in those days were a boy named Gerald and a girl named Carol. Gerald was tall and skinny, always wearing that green army jacket his older brother had brought back from Vietnam. Carol had red hair and a laugh that could light up a room, or as she would joke, a graveyard. The 3 of us had grown up trick-or-treating together since we were old enough to walk, and even at 17, we weren't quite ready to let that go. We'd heard about the old Dressler farm on the edge of town. Every town has one, that one property people stop talking about in complete sentences. They'd start to say something and then just trail off, look away, change the subject. The Dressler place had been empty since 1961, since old Werner Dressler had simply disappeared. No note, no goodbye. His truck was still in the driveway. His breakfast dishes were still in the sink. He was just gone. And the town, the way small towns do, had quietly decided never to think too hard about it. Gerald had dared us. Carol had laughed and said she wasn't afraid. And I had said yes because I didn't want to be the one who said no. We left at 9:30. The trick-or-treaters had mostly gone home by then. The streets were emptying out, that slow, creeping emptiness that Halloween towns get late at night. Jack-o'-lanterns still glowing on steps, but no one walking past them anymore. Just the candles flickering inside their cut-out faces, making those cut-out eyes look like they were watching you go. The Dressler farm was about 1.5 miles from the center of town, down a road that didn't have streetlights. We had one flashlight between the 3 of us, Gerald's, a big yellow ever-ready torch that he kept clicking on and off to save the battery, which meant that every few seconds the road ahead of us went completely black. Carol was humming something. I don't know why I remember that. Some song from the radio. Something cheerful and ordinary. I think she was doing it to keep herself calm, though she would never have admitted that. Gerald was talking, he was always talking, about something he'd seen on the news, about Nixon, about school, about anything, the way people talk when silence feels dangerous. I was the one who saw it first. A light, moving between the trees at the edge of the Dressler property. Not a flashlight kind of light, not that hard white beam. Something softer, something that flickered. I grabbed Gerald's arm and he stopped walking. Carol stopped humming.
and for a moment the three of us just stood there in the road, watching that pale, shifting light move slowly between the bare black trunks of the trees. "Probably just somebody's lantern," Gerald said, but his voice had gone very quiet. "There's no one out here," Carol said, and she was right. We had seen no one on that road. We had heard no car, no footsteps, no voices, and yet there was that light drifting between the trees with a slowness that didn't match the wind, moving with a kind of deliberate, unhurried patience that made the hair on the back of my neck stand completely upright. Gerald clicked his flashlight off. The three of us stood in total darkness, watching. The light in the trees stopped moving. It just held there, between two old oaks, maybe 40 feet from where we stood, perfectly still. And then, God help me, I am telling you the truth, it turned. Not the way a person turns, shifting their body and their lantern. It turned the way an eye turns, smoothly, slowly, until that pale glow was aimed directly at us. None of us spoke. None of us moved. I remember thinking with complete calm, the strange calm that comes just before real panic, that I should not run, that running was the wrong thing to do, that whatever was holding that light would notice movement more than stillness. And then Carol grabbed my hand, and Gerald whispered just one word: "Walk." We walked. Not fast, not slow. We walked back the way we came, facing forward, not looking back, our footsteps deliberate and even on the asphalt. And I counted every single one of those steps in my head, because counting was the only thing keeping me from screaming. 1, 2, 3, 4. I made it to 47 before Gerald turned the flashlight back on. Behind us, the road was empty. The trees were dark. The light was gone. We didn't talk about it that night, not one word. We walked back to town, said our goodbyes at Carol's front porch, and went home. I lay in my bed until almost 4 in the morning, listening to the wind come down through the eaves of the house, and every time a branch moved against my window, I held my breath. In the morning, I told myself it had been someone with a lantern, a farmer checking his fence line on Halloween night, a neighbor I hadn't recognized, something ordinary that the dark and our own fear had twisted into something monstrous. But here is what I never told Gerald. Here is what I never told Carol. Here is what I have never told anyone until tonight. When we turned to walk away, in that single second before Gerald switched the flashlight on, I looked back. I couldn't help it. Something made me look. And the light in the trees, it was not 40 feet away anymore. It was close, much closer, right at the edge of the road where the gravel shoulder met the asphalt. Close enough that I could see, and I know how this sounds, I could see that it was not a lantern. There was no hand holding it. There was no person beneath it. It was simply a light, hovering, at the height a man's face would be if a man were standing there. And it was moving, still moving toward us, slowly, patiently. I never went back to that road, not once in all the years I lived in that town. I moved away when I was 22, and I have never been back. Gerald died in 1987. Heart attack, they said. Nothing unusual. Carol moved to Portland, and we lost touch sometime in the 90s. I think about them both sometimes on cold October nights when the dead leaves sound like whispers on the pavement outside my window. Whatever was walking toward us down that gravel road on Halloween night, 1973, I don't believe it stopped walking just because we did. I don't believe it ever stopped at all. The old man goes quiet. The fire crackles. And outside, just for a moment, something brushes against the window.